Hey guys, Hodge, Servant of Truth here. I thought I'd start doing a format like this because it feels actually pretty cool that I can talk about experiences and lessons and stuff in this direct format with you, in part to achieve something that I perceived in 2014. If you've listened to the Galactic Special Forces recordings that I've released over the last few months, in part one, the key for that, for me, was that when we were actually doing the work and Nikki was she was assisting the species that chose to disarm their weapons to cross over to the galactic, to the source, free of karma. It was a very powerful experience of being in that interaction, and what I perceived in it, which was a gift to me, was I could perceive everyone throughout all time that were grateful for me to step up and be a circuit for their development or whatever. Alright. And at that time I was actually really, really scared of stepping up or doing anything in a public light or anything like that. And that was mid 2014. What I realized is if I didn't step up and do my part, there was all these circuits with people that were relying on me to be a component in their development, which up until that point I didn't even fathom that I could even be a component in their development. So what that did, it switched me into another gear and realized, shit, I've got responsibility here, I've got to share what I've got and aware of. So since basically that time, and including releasing those recordings, which I hope you've had the courage to explore and listen to actually what really goes on. Got ants. I've taken upon myself to try and contribute whatever way I can and not do what everyone else is doing. Just try and do something unique. Whether you've gained something or not, which you don't even know you have, cool. But everything I've done since then is in pursuit of connecting those circuits, these people that maybe I have a frequency or teaching or whatever, or a bit of wisdom to help assist them to get to wherever they're meant to be. So it was a gift and it was a huge thing, and a lot of people, they don't really realize that maybe they're the component that a lot of other people are waiting for. So this method that I'm trying to share my experiences now with is just an evolution of whatever I've been through up until now, taking it to the next level. A lot of you, the people I deal with, are super psychics and they can see through you remotely and stuff like that. It's an effort in transparency and whatever, get past all you need to do or need to resolve or whatever like that, and purely absorb the data. Alright? Because what I learned is you need to actually integrate a new level of data, like reset the base that you operate with, that we've been given through from life and all our experiences. You need the courage to explore and gain more a base level of data to perceive the world with. What we're taught with is a perspective, like a narrative and stuff like that, but what is very vast. Alright, so yeah, I will talk about other things and stuff like download phase and cellular memory, how I access that. I've worked out how to do that pretty effortlessly, naturally, which I think will help a lot of people and stuff like that, because the way I do it, I've learnt the hard way to get to the level of doing the Galactic Special Forces level of stuff. And as I said before, it's not about the military or anything like that. We've each got our talents. Many people have overlapping talents, but if you keep developing yourself to a very high level, your uniqueness will show out. And what you'll find is you may be meant to work with different people with different abilities, and you connect up a bit like Transformers or Thundercats, where those cartoons in the 80s had a lot of self-disclosure, but when you link up with different people with different components and different abilities, you form a very tight unit. And the reason why I mentioned in the past, like the SAS, they're a very small group of very self-sufficient individuals that have mastered themselves in every facet of their being, so that they get put into missions and they're bulletproof. They've got their unique abilities that assist the team, but then they all overlap and they have their own abilities. And what I've found with doing the Galactic Special Forces level work, if you haven't done your basic shit, that will come out in it, because it will be the crack in the dam that will be used against the group and compromise it and all that sort of stuff. And the thing with those sort of, I've shared those missions to show shit is going on. Maybe you have an idea of how it works and it doesn't. It's totally opposite of what you had an expectation for. But it's an effort for you to tune in if you're a very advanced intuitive, to use your empathy to tune in, see what goes on. I tried to explain it in the write-ups, that basically we get no warning at all. We've got to be 24/7 ready to go, and that's where it's been for me for many years, coming up to basically 8 or 9 years now. So what I wanted to do in this particular video is share something I call the multidimensional method to the 3D madness. There's this saying called method to the madness and stuff like that, and a lot of the stuff that's taught in the spiritual field, for the most part, it's pretty good, but what I've found is it actually set you up for failure as well. Alright, so the key is to recognize teachings as data, as perspectives, to add to the repertoire of all you know, and accumulate data and awareness. But the key is to know which to do at the right time, and scenario might be very new to you and you don't know, and if you go back on the fundamentals that a lot of the teachings are taught, they'll set you up for failure. Alright, so this what I want to do is a recording on a great deal of my experiences, particularly with my family, because what you find, like what I said, is you might have ups and downs and stuff in life, and there's an overarching, like, you imagine your life as a linear line. There's an aspect that can see it all from above, and all it does is wait for you to have dips. You might have ups and downs and stuff, and you have dips, and the system is just waiting to punch, like, smash you. It's happened countless times to me. So used to it that basically I know when I get a smashing, it's usually that I've got something on the other side that's pretty big to do. I've seen the pattern so much. So yeah, this multidimensional madness, method to the madness, alright, multidimensional method to the 3D madness, is based on experiences that I've had that I'm going to share. It relates to my family, what's happened, because the other thing, what I said is waiting for the smash you, that you're caught in a rock and a hard place. You've got these missions to do, and everything will be done to undermine you. So everyone you know can be possibly compromised, alright? And you've got to be able to sense that there's a shift, alright? Usually what will happen is whatever you do will be totally wrong. No matter what you do, everything will be taken as wrong, alright, and undermined. Because if you're in your power and you're done a lot of healing and clearing and stuff like that, what eventually happens is people in your field, alright, and this has happened to me for a very, very long time, people in your field, they'll get a boost, alright? They'll get a boost that is not organic or innate to them. And in that boost, as a healer, that's where the shadow stuff and the unresolved stuff pops up and can come in and interfere with everything, alright? So what has happened in the past to me, and it took a very long time to accept this in myself, I love healing, I love going to do healing, I love resolving stuff, because on the other side of that is your potential, alright? You keep healing, you keep removing layers and stuff, and you go through your stuff and you clear out. That might be you, and what I've found is there's very, very few, tiny percentage of people that actually do that. Most people, if they do healing, they're reactive to crisis, just to get them back to normal. They're not looking to take themselves to the next level, and that's even a larger population of like people that do that, but still the volume of people out of the whole population of humanity that actually choose healing is tiny. So the potential for people to have unresolved issues that project at you and stuff is massive, alright? Especially if you're proactive and stuff. And this is where you've got to know yourself, alright? In another video I'll talk about something I call the sanctuary space, alright? Where you know yourself so well and you can tune into all through time and stuff like that, and you can anchor your truth and you know yourself. That's when you're in foreign environments, you know that there's an equational aspect that's off. It could be trying to influence you because you're on your unfamiliar grounds and stuff. And what happens to the majority of people, if they're not used to being in the presence of a healer and they're very reluctant to deal with their stuff, that's where judgment comes in. They will judge you as being the issue, but when in actual fact it's something that they've got to resolve, and because you're the one that is in their field that brings it up, they will attack you because they don't want to see their stuff, alright? It's crazy, but it's the method that majority of people go through. You can disarm it and talk to them, but there's a glaze overlook where people get to a level that they're not ready for it and stuff like that. So all these things I'm just sort of setting up because these are the things I've had to deal with, and so I'm sort of prepping you with variables to empathize in your life, alright? And you can tune into and measure what goes on and stuff like that, because it's very common, and there's no rule books in it or instruction books for how to deal with this stuff and that. So the multidimensional method to the 3D madness, right? Because when you do this level work and you get to a level and missions reveal themselves to you, because you're the only one that's at the level of consciousness Tetris to actually even be aware of them, and then you have to take responsibility for what you know, what you build yourself to be a level of. Some things that you'll have to do might seem the polar opposite of what society expects and is allowed and stuff like that, or what treating another person might think, alright? I've got a very good example about it related to a family situation, and yeah, it took me a very, very long time, alright? And I used a method that was quite offensive, alright? What it did, it shook up the multidimensional aspect related to this person, which I'll get into. Memory of my phone is going to go full, so what I'll do is I'll just give the intro, and then I'll get into the main data of the experience, which went over very many years, alright? And it got to the point where it was like the last resort of doing something visceral, shook free the interference of this individual, and I cleared them, alright? But what happened is that because in the 3D it was viewed as something wrong, but in the multidimensional it was the way to work, right? So in the 3D you have to do something that is visceral, that creates a little gap, alright? And the gap is it was an unexpected path for me to do that, alright? And that's why I'm saying the multidimensional method to the 3D madness, alright? Because, yeah, you're a pattern. Everything you do is a pattern. So there's an expectation of maybe how you're going to react, and there's a possibility of how you do in the future. A bit like Adjustment Bureau. Sometimes you have to do something totally opposite of your expected behavior to shake the shit free, alright? And you might be seen as the worst being in the planet for doing the right thing, but you have to work on that level because you know it's the right thing and needed, and that's what leadership is, right? It's doing what you see as a gap and filling it, alright? So it's doing what you instinctively see as the right thing, despite what anyone around you might think is wrong. And I'm not talking about violations, committing crimes and all that sort of shit. But yeah, this had a pretty big impact on my family, and it justified a lot of behaviour that was just unacceptable. It's caused a lot of harm to my immediate family members and stuff. But yeah, it's a very worthwhile story of talking, and it's about how to live in the 3D, being multidimensionally aware, and doing the right thing in the wrong time that may have a negative outcome in your 3D. But it's still about doing the right thing on another level, because if your free will is violated and harm is being done to you that prevents potentially missions and stuff like that, holding your energy, particularly if you're a healer or if you're a grid worker, if you've got responsibilities, which you do, just because society works a certain way doesn't mean you have a right to be walked over. It's absolutely not. You have a right to defend yourself all the time. So that's a pretty big intro. I'm going to set my phone up right to be able to record properly and a decent length. So I hope you stick around and enjoy what I've got to say. Ants are attacking me. Hey guys. So the story I'm going to get into is probably over a 5 or 6, 7 year period. If you managed to see the other video that I sort of took down, I explained some stuff that went on to me related to ex-girlfriend. Went to Sydney in love. My ex-girlfriend had a fall 6 months after just getting established. Shattered her left knee cap into 12 bits, and after a couple of weeks basically she lost it with pain, and I believe she had entities and demons and all that sort of stuff that were related on traumas and all that sort of stuff. She had multiple personalities and things like that, and that's where I've done a lot of the research over the years, how trauma is used to create altars and stuff like that, because I actually witnessed it. So I did this amazing thing. I quit my job to look after her. That activated me, because when I chose love over money, because money is a trap. Money is a 3D thing. When you choose the right thing in the wrong time, sometimes there's other things on the other side of choosing that switched me. I knew I was on the radar of all sorts of stuff, hence I said I know why I did the control room show, because I can sense when, say, my energy is so high that I could be detected. So sometimes you've got to actually smash your energy yourself and destroy it, right? To camouflage yourself. I think I've actually gotten past a lot of that, but I'm just saying from my experience, it was a reverse engineer all the shit that had no idea was going on. Alright. And so I returned from Sydney on March the 31st. I drove across Australia under the full moon, Easter, and I returned in end of March 2010. So what happened is I returned to my city and I found out this scenario that was going on with my family and my brother was caught up in. So I literally went from the frying pan into the fire. Right. Long story short, I won't get into. My brother got hooked into a very, very, very bad demonic portal. You imagine Ghostbusters at the end, where they're fighting Gozer. I equate it to that. It was like the biggest shopping centre in my city. Yeah. I'm still sort of understanding portals and stuff, but it would go cyclical and open and just spew shit out. And I felt 2013 I accepted my role, whatever it is, on a tram ride to my meditation group, where my meditation teacher, her name was Rose Penn. She was 99 when I first met her. She was like my Yoda, 5'2", walking around on a cane. As soon as she would sit down in the meditation group, she would go into a powerful state. alright, and there might be 40 people around the meditation group. After we did meditation, she'd give everyone a reading. Alright, it was amazing. Very fortunate to be around a being like that. It was first intro experience to super psychics and what people could do. The other thing was being in a group of, it was like the movie Cocoon, if you've ever seen that. These elderly people in their 70s, 80s and 90s that have been meditating for 30 or 40 years, masters in the craft. So I was like this 33-year-old punk rookie, think I know everything, blah blah blah, which I don't, but I'm being tough on myself. Being in a group like that, it allows you to hook into their energy and accelerate your development. So what I found is being in there gave me the glimpse of what meditation was like. And I was like, a lot of people go in and they have their 20 minutes and they walk out and they go back to normal. My attitude was, why not integrate this as a foundation of my life? So yeah, I'd learned, this was about 2011, so I came back a year later from Sydney and I got into meditation, and that was a foundational component to who I was. So that was a parallel to all this going on. Alright. So my brother asked me for help to work in this kitchen with him, and because we don't have a father and stuff like that, I've always been an ally to him and stuff, but sometimes I've had to let him grow on his own. And so I went in there and just thought, yeah, I'll help and stuff like that. Parallel, I was doing my currency trading. I'd learned to do currency trading, and it was very demanding. Ended up doing 60, 70, 80, 100 hours a week, staying awake for 40 hours at a time. Some trades just to watch them because they were doing a lot of leverage and risks. So during that time, what I was doing was doing a lot of documentaries and learning about what I didn't know. The whole reason I got into the currency trading was it was an outlet to actually make money and do what Michelle Hibbert sort of did. If I believed in my ability to create wealth. I am a manifesting generator. Done it a lot in my life and stuff like that. I'm not attached to money. That's how you do it. That's a whole nother conversation. But so I was doing currency trading in parallel. My brother asked me for help and I went in there. It was a good match because it was no think physical versus the whole thing and doing no physical sort of currency trading. It was like a yin to the yang. I could rock up with no sleep, do the kitchen work and clean up, and it was very like Mr. Miyagi, Daniel-san basics. I find I worked in what we call Hungry Jacks in Australia, or Burger King around the world. I worked there and I was 15, and making the hamburgers, I learned active meditation in fast food outlet, doing repetitive stuff a lot. So I was applying active meditation to think and get myself set up for the next trade and stuff like that in the kitchen and stuff. I didn't understand about demonic portals, but I remember one full moon, I think in 2010 or 11, I got hit very hard and I instantly got a headache, like a migraine. It was like attacking my third eye. You don't know where it's coming from or whatever. Just you get this overwhelming quick migraine, and with migraines for me, like you can see the colours and stuff, but there's no, you can't tell what a shape is and stuff. It's very, very unique. So that was going on and stuff, and this teaching is related to his wife, my ex-sister-in-law, who was an orphan and she had epilepsy. And so my brother rescued her from her situation. It was very tough. Brought her into our family and stuff, and it's quite fragile. You imagine an orphan, trauma, losing parents and stuff like that. Everywhere is a foreign environment and things like that, so we're very compassionate, very nurturing to her and stuff. Because of the epilepsy, it was believed that she was told that she was never going to be a mother, which is unfortunate. But I am an uncle. I have a niece, and she's 9 years old, and she was born in June, July 2011. And what happened was my bankruptcy occurred in April 2012, and all the events that led up to that were pretty intense, right? So I was learning reverse engineering the world and stuff like that in all this situation. I'd been activated in June 2010. I went to a group, first spiritual group and stuff, and I got activated at another level. And it would be another year before I actually started doing my real healing, which was June 2011. Individual one-on-one sessions and stuff. But all this stuff was going on underlying, alright? And this is about my sister-in-law and what was going on. I was currency trading, I was working a lot, trying to rescue my life after what happened with my ex. I lost everything and stuff. A friend lent me the money to get into currency trading well, which was, he trusted me, he saw what I could do and stuff, he believed in me, and I had a plan with that. My brother was in trouble, so I got involved in the kitchen, which happened to be this crazy demonic portal, which I've asked for a lot of help with over the years, and I haven't really seen much and stuff, right? So I was trying to get out of all the trouble I was in. I was under a lot of pressure. I remember one time, I can't remember the date, but I just started planning my trades and I executed some. The Australian government, Prime Minister at the time, Kevin Rudd, he introduced this from total left field, mining tax. Australia's a big resource country and has a lot of mines and stuff, and it shocked the market. Usually what happens with government plans and stuff like that, they seed them into the narrative, right? They seed them for the preparation, and this was totally left field. So to me, this was a big milking operation, right, to shake things out. Just so happens 2 days prior, I entered my first trade. I lost a lot of money straight off, out of the blue. It was just crazy. So immediately I was under a lot of pressure, right? I lost $10, $15, $20, $30,000, right? It was crazy. So I was hit by that and I was shocked. Plus I was working in this environment that was very toxic that I didn't even know. What I would do is I'd eventually recover all the money, and in 3 months I made 7 times my money because I trusted my technique. I viewed charts and try and take the emotion away. What I'd realized in hindsight the currency trading was for was to develop my intuition. Right? That's crazy, but what I would do after a matter of time was I would intuit the charts and be able to tell what was going on. What would kick in is programs and my instincts and my lack of self-belief and stuff that would prevent it. And so I had to learn to let go of the mind, trust the instincts, right? And if you imagine the start of Ghostbusters, the first movie, alright, where Bill Murray is testing those people for their intuitive ability, and you get a shock, alright, it's good intro. It was like losing money was a very powerful shock. Sucks losing money trading, right? The other thing is, if you bring your baggage of a past trade in, it would influence your present one. So you had to learn to drop your baggage and all that sort of stuff. So it was a very intense roller coaster ride of very hardcore training of the intuitive level. Alright. So sometimes you do things, like I said, the multidimensional method to the 3D madness. You think you're doing something for a particular reason. There's another purpose to it that works on another level. So a lot of people go into trading to make money, and yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I learnt many of my techniques as a foundational component from doing that. Alright. So what I'm wanting to get to is, I was trading, I was under a lot of pressure to regroup after what happened to me in Sydney and stuff. My brother asked me for help. I was drawn into that. My sister-in-law, she was going through a lot of grief and stuff. I didn't realize a lot of what was going on around me and stuff. I was in my situation trying to recover. You go through a lot of trauma, and I started getting into my healing and exploring the spiritual path seriously. Met healers and meditation groups and stuff like that. What happened is my sister-in-law, that was an orphan and epileptic, and she would eventually get pregnant, which she wasn't meant to do, and this would happen 9 months before July, when my niece was born. My niece is amazing. If you track back 9 months, it's end of September, October. What happened to me, I developed a very bad abscess on the back of my leg, my right leg, around my hamstring, out of nowhere. Alright, so I said in June I went to this spiritual mass healing group and I got activated massively. So it was like my abilities had been turned on, and I've had to, over many years, learn how to work with them. Alright, what would happen is I tried to treat it, tried to cure it, blah blah blah. I would eventually go and have surgery and have a big hole in the back of my right leg, like I've been shot there. I'd have nurses come in every day to change the gauze and stuff like that for 3 months. I had this big hole and it looked like a bullet wound in the back of my right hamstring. Where that came from was in 2006 my mum tore her right hamstring off her bone. It was like a very advanced injury for an elderly person. My mum was 60s, mid-60s and stuff. So it was a very difficult injury. It was right around the time where I had to choose to go to Sydney with this girl, which was crazy, which she was actually trying to leave me, but she couldn't say that. Right? So what happened is a lot of the trauma and all that stuff had still been pulled on the energetic level in my mother. Right? And what happened with me, with my abilities turning on, if you don't understand, you don't know how to clear and stuff, you can embody your client's issues and stuff like that. What I did, I cleared my mother, and it was actually storage of a lot of trauma and all this other stuff, but it manifested into an injury, the level that I need to go to emergency surgery for and have it cut out in a major hospital. And then I'd need 3 months nurses coming and putting gauze in. If you imagine you've got a hole in the back of your leg and you're having gauze put into it to keep it clear and then it pulled out, pain. 3 months. I'd lost a lot of money with this trading, and I lost the ability to earn an income because I had to recover. So I was in a lot of trouble, and this is where I'd turned my whole world around. Right? So I had about 7 grand out of like 50 or 60 grand. It was bleak. I managed to, in 3 months, turn that into what I'd lost. Right? Impossible, incredible. So what I learned is I trusted my ability and what I could do. I got a lot of confidence, but I was very exhausted. And this is where I said, you know, the ups and downs, the multidimensional. I got smashed, right? It took a lot to recover, a lot of stress. And when you get back to a level of relief, sometimes a new level of healing can kick in. It's like when you do healing and stuff, the body gets the energy that it needs. What can happen is you can shut down, right? Because the body is finally getting the resources it needs to. It can deploy to repairing the body and all that sort of stuff. Metaphorically, this is what happened. But the next level thing, and this is the demonic portal, and my sister, because what I've come to understand is she's being compromised. Didn't realise it. Not many people do. So 2 things happen. The venue that my brother was in, basically the business was failing. A lot of the chefs left. My brother was left holding it on. Asked me to do a lot more work, so I had to go and do a lot more hours. It cost me over a line of my physical, what I can take, because working in a kitchen is like battle. It takes a lot of effort. You should never underestimate what the chefs have to go through in the kitchen and stuff. It's very, very demanding work. It was like a furnace battlefield. So the business would eventually self-destruct, alright? The other thing, my sister-in-law, alright, she had pregnancy, alright, and this was over that 9 months until July. In the last couple of months, because the pressure on her, because the unexpected, beyond what she could handle, with all this going on, had two seizures, right? And like I said, what happens in Australia is if you lose your license, right? If you have 2 seizures, because it's a risk, right? So that put a lot more pressure on everything. There was a lot of uncertainty and stuff like that. The business would fail. My brother he'd been working this venue for 2 years, and he was planning to take 2 months holiday leave, right, with the financial support, because in Australia, if you're full-time, businesses have to pay you 4 weeks annual leave, right? So he'd not been able to have a holiday because this business came from nowhere. He was establishing it and stuff. It was a cousin's business, and yeah, the cousin is another story, because he worked in the police and stuff like that, very high level, which I won't get into now, but I did an amazing thing for my cousin as well, and no one can really comprehend it in the 3D. So yeah, the business would eventually, when my brother was looking to rest and support his orphan wife with epilepsy, the business failed right at the time of the pregnancy, which meant he lost all that 8 weeks leave pay. So he had, not only was it time for him to rest, he had to scramble to find income. I'd been exhausted going through all I've been through, plus dealing with the multidimensional stuff, which I didn't even comprehend. My healing abilities have been turned on, and not really understanding it all and stuff. My brother asked me to finance him to help pay his house, right, when we had no money. So not only was I lost my income, in the few months leading up to it, I was asked to do more to help him out, which impacted my currency trading. I lost a lot of money. Plus, the world was pretty crazy at that time, if you remember. Greece was going through all its financial issues and stuff like that, so it was extreme pressure on the markets. I needed to actually be vigilant. The recipe was bad, so I'll just get to the point. My sister-in-law needed my help because the rest of my mum, she was still working in her job. In August she would actually have cataract surgery, and I'd have to take care of her as well. So I was helping my brother, helping my sister-in-law. I would have to take my sister-in-law, because her family never contributed, in the mornings to her neurology appointments, to maternity classes at hospitals to train mothers and stuff like that. I was taking care of my mother, I was taking care of my brother, and all the market exploded. And what that did was drive me into the spiritual groups, right, to look for help and support. What actually happened was, like I said, the majority of people don't heal. They don't even know they've got issues, and if you're a very high frequency being with healing abilities that you don't realize, you're slime with all their energy and you don't even know what's going on. Alright. A lot of lessons, a lot of trouble. I needed support, and I was supporting everyone else. And then I went to spiritual groups and I was supporting them, and the people in them. And I'll just get to this point. I was struggling along with my currency trading. I was still getting along and stuff. Something happened in December that sent me over the edge, and it was related to my understanding of iodine, and it caused an effect on someone I know and their family, and I took it to heart. Right? I took responsibility for the cause of what I knew that they took on, And so right when I was very vulnerable and I was right on the edge of not being able to recover, I had this big information come to me that hit me very hard. I had to reevaluate everything. I lost about 25% of my money in that week, and that put me over the edge, and I never recovered. I would eventually go bankrupt in April 2012. So in Australia, when you go bankrupt, you lose your passport. Lost my passport for 3 years, a lot of trouble, heavily under attack and stuff like that. Didn't even know it. So during that time, I would live off $10 a day. I'd walk 10, 15 kilometers a day. I learned a lot about emotions, that you can actually budget it. Your emotions are your life force. So you don't need to give them away and stuff like that. So these are all the foundational things that I've been through. And what I'm getting to is that whole experience was very, very traumatic for my brother as well. Because a lot of wrongs were done to him, and no one gave a shit. And we have very special bloodlines, and it's a consistent thing. Like I said, when you're down, you get smashed. My brother's been smashed quite a bit, and I can't violate free will. Even if I know that people are in trouble, they have to earn it themselves, and especially with family, it's very, very complicated. So what would happen is, because the family member got him into that situation, was, to me, it was like a multi-dimensional chess move to hook me into all that stuff. Alright. Smashed me. It takes years to recover from being smashed like that. Alright. So all that time I was in the consciousness path. I assumed everyone could read and all that, and tune in and that. All this stuff no one has ever asked me about, right? So my purpose in sharing it is these sort of things go on all the time, and to the very high level people that are doing the sort of work that I do, it's very common in your own metaphor of your life. The data might be unique, but the outcome is common, right? You can see the purpose. The purpose is to limit you in the 3D to prevent you doing what you may do. Right. So if you understand that when my involvement in all the people I've been involved with, I was always searching for answers and stuff, and realizing there was more going on and all this stuff. All these hiccups didn't stop me. On some level deep within me, there was some purpose to all this. And I'm not saying all this stuff to be a victim or all that. I'm just giving you the foundation of how I came to be, to do the stuff I do, alright? Because I realized that there was this effort, like rock and a hard place, 3D's trying to smash you, and you got these things in the future that are have the potential of being, if you can endure all the shit. And the safest way I found is to be able to maintain that, is you let the 3D things take the hit. Bankruptcy, stuff like that. On the 3D level, they're very significant. On the multidimensional level, there's things on the other side of going past them. So what I learnt about going bankrupt, I was in debt and stuff like that. The moment I went back and I cleared myself of the debt, I got a lot of life force back, right? So I learnt the energy exchange of the money and all that sort of stuff, and the debt, what it does on the energetic level, those sort of things, alright? So like I said, with my ex, when I didn't choose the money, I chose love. There was the unknown on the other side. So many things in my life, I've chosen the unknown. Many people, like I said, the 3D, they're defined by the 3D, even though they say they're not. When it comes to the moment of truth, they'll choose themselves and the 3D over the unknown. And all I'm saying is, don't sacrifice your life and all that, but have the will to tune into what is on the other side, right? Because the greatest potential comes from the unknown. So all this scenario happened in my life and all that. Went through a lot of hardship between 2012 and 2015. Because what would happen is my brother, got shattered. He lost faith and lost trust in people. The people that were running the business got him to work in a similar scenario, and he felt like he was a failure because he was the head chef and all that, so he wanted to try and achieve success. That was his hook. What would happen is, after 5 years, the people that run it didn't pay him. He didn't have a holiday in 5 years. He's still owed 25 grand from these people. And yeah, so just craziness around my family and stuff. It was in the same venue as the demonic portal and stuff, so I'd submitted myself in 2013 to serving Earth on a tram ride going to one of these meditation groups. And what I meant to say before was, the meditation leader, she tuned into that. She said, "Oh, you've got a choice to make." I said, "I actually made it on the way here today, and I accepted it, because what I could see is that, there's just no one." And what it was building up to whatever I would do and whatever I'm going to do and stuff. So part of me, I serve Earth on a shaman level and stuff, and I'll talk about other things that have happened related to trying to live a normal life, because they're very interesting, and I think there'll be teachings on how to hold an attitude and stuff like that. But so what I'm wanting to get to is, my brother asked me for help again, right? His wife, my sister-in-law, she treats people bad. She doesn't realise it, but she offends people and they don't want to work with her. She lost jobs and stuff like that, and people wouldn't want to work with her, so it came to be that she was working with my brother once again. Actually, for the first time. The other time she wasn't. Right? But she had the epilepsy kick in, and it contributed to all the other stuff, right? Just to make it even harder. So what I'm going to do is trying to get to the point. Right? So my brother asked me for help again. He had to allow her to work so she would have an income to contribute. What was happening over this time is they were living in a house, and absolutely pigsty, disgusting mess, chaos, clutter. There was a room full of just junk, and those hoarders that you see that are just disgusting places and stuff. That was how his house was with her. Alright, craziness. There'll be dead food, like rotting food in the fridge and stuff like that. They were both chefs, like there's food hygiene and all that sort of stuff, right? So I'm just saying this is a pattern. I'll get to it at the end, alright? So you think about the energy level of distortion and all that sort of stuff, right? Creates a very low frequency. So if you understand feng shui, it's about a harmony of energy over space and stuff like that. So this is the opposite. It was distortion, right? And my mother was babysitting the niece, and I'd have to help her do healings and all that sort of stuff. So the shows I made, like the healing and process for Andrew and stuff, I got it. I was employing a lot of these techniques and stuff to remove me as the issue, and then help others and stuff like that, right? So there's something just really crazy going on. She blamed it on the medication, which, yeah, medication is pretty hectic and stuff like that. So my brother asked me for help. I went back in there again. What would happen is I would have to work with my sister-in-law because no one else wanted to work with her. People didn't like how she treated them and stuff like that. The demonic portal was still in full effect, and it would do shit, and what it would actually do is actually turn everyone on my brother. So I'd have to teach him to defend himself, and I'd be there to defend him and just like negate all the energy. Part of the reason why I went back there was in service to Earth, the region and stuff. I knew that place was pretty fucked up. It would spew a lot of shit into the biggest shopping centre in our state. It was a key area of our region and stuff like that, so it was important. And so in part, my service went there to block it and to defend the city. There's other people with particular skills at closing portals and stuff like that, and I'd sort of created scenarios, rite of passages for them to do it and stuff like that, because I wasn't in control. It wasn't my space. Many variables. It was actually had to be chosen in a free will to do it. All right. None of that happened. So yeah. So you understand the dates with the Galactic Special Forces sort of missions and stuff. I went to Ayers Rock, Christmas 2015 and stuff, and then one of the missions I did with Nikki was 16th of January, 15th, 16th of January, I don't remember the exact date off the top of my head. And the mission happened between 2:30 and 5:30 a.m. that morning. It was very full on at the end of the, Galactic Special Forces Part 4. It was major, right? Removed this species that were doing massive negative shit to humanity and the world, right? They got galactic recycled, okay? So you imagine you finish that, you're high and stuff like that, you got to lower your energy, try and get some sleep. At the time I was working in this kitchen, and that night I had to work 10 hours from 10 o'clock till 10 p.m, alright? About 8:30 that night, of all nights, right, the kitchen had a fire, and I had to shut the kitchen down, clear it out, blah blah blah. Of all nights, alright? So it was like the demonic portal was all coordinated to fuck me up. My sister-in-law was messed up, she was targeting me, alright? What would happen is I would be doing a lot of work in the kitchen. What I realized is my sister had an entity, alright? And I found this article on signofthetimes.net, SOTT.net, called Epilepsy Demons, alright? So it was a very menacing force, right? And all that time I was like the peacemaker with everything and negating all the energy, blocking the portal and all this sort of stuff, doing the Galactic Special Forces missions in 2015, did a lot of stuff with Nikki and on my own, and eventually would get the demonic the womb chakra cleared and stuff like that, go to Ayers Rock and have to work in this portal and stuff. It's crazy, alright? Very proud of myself of how achieving all that I have, alright, and enduring all the shit. The purpose of saying this is, if you've got that level of stuff, more than likely this shit's going on in your life to like derail you on every level, alright? And you have to ride through it, not create issues and endure all the bullshit, because the bigger picture is resistance-free Earth, alright? So what was happening I started in April 2015 and would end mid-20s, 2017, 2018. But over this time, what would happen is no one wanted to work with my sister-in-law, my brother would put me with her and stuff, and like I'm saying, my energy field was very high. I was doing big level stuff, doing a lot of healing and stuff. Got into the revocations big time in mid-2015. What I realized is my sister-in-law had this entity, and what it was doing, it would trigger her emotions and she would project negative shit in me, particularly cutting my legs off, destroying my legs, because I'd be walking a lot, going to work and stuff like that, walking end of shift and things like that. So it was actually doing a lot of harm to me, and I realized it was an entity. But how to deal with it? Someone that chooses not to do any healing, causing a lot of harm in my family, like I said, the distortion of the messed up house. It was it controlling her to mess it up, to create the frequency load that's conducive to the entity maintaining itself. So when I've done all the haunting sort of shows and recordings, I get it, right? You understand the infrastructure that does it all, like the court system and all that. So, because she's an orphan, had a lot of trauma and all that, is very sensitive, being a mother, not much support. the reason why I went in to help my brother and stuff is because no one could work with her. My brother had to work with her, and what that was having is a massive impact on my mother. My mother was doing 60, 80 hours babysitting a week because my brother needed to make money. She had no issue spending all the money as well. Like, part of it was just being unresponsible with the credit cards and putting them into a lot of debt. My brother was very exhausted, all that. So I saw the scenario was having a massive impact, and I went in there again to help defend my family and all that sort of stuff. So I realised all the patterns, and it was like how to deal with it. I thought taking the hits would help, you know. Spiritual community says love is the greatest force in the world, blah blah blah, in the universe. So I thought giving love, fucking reject that. It took my love and amplified everything and made it even worse, alright? Couldn't do anything right. It was like strategizing set for the most negative outcome no matter what you did, alright? So what if people say love's the greatest force in the universe? I disagree. Love is a great force. Self-love. If you've watched the documentary I created, that love versus fear state and stress effect on the body, when you're in love state, your organs are, your blood's in your like organ region of your body. When you're in fear, you're in flight or fight, and the blood goes to your legs and stuff, and the nourishment goes into there rather than your organs. So everything I tried didn't work. And what happened also, the people that were running the place, they were massively compromised because everyone was messed up because of this demonic portal and also all their other shit. And it would turn against my brother. They would turn against other staff to undermine the other staff to get them to quit if they were supporting my brother. And then they would keep my brother basically an energetic slave because he was trying to hold on to get the money related to his holidays and stuff, and then they would never pay him anyway, alright? And my sister-in-law actually went and supported the people that basically were criminals to my brother. Crazy shit. So what I'm building towards the way I helped my sister out, alright? And what happened over a long period, my legs attacked, having to do a lot of healing, costing me a lot, impacting my brother, treating people like shit, my mother being impacted massively. I remember on March the 8th, I think, 2016, it was a Wednesday, and she was just complaining about bullshit. And I got to the point where, you know, I was being targeted by her, everyone saw it. She would eventually get told to leave by the new owners because the way she treated me and stuff like that down the track, and they would eventually get rid of me anyway, but I let her have it. And this is the point, the multidimensional method to the 3D madness. I'd been massively compromised in my life. My two closest relatives and family members were being hit very hard and compromised. The victim state was being used to get leverage and manipulate everyone else because everyone was trying to people please and appease the situation, and very supportive of her, whatever. But I let it rip. I got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore, and I actually gave it to her, which is very unlike my pattern of getting angry. And when you get when you're aligned with truth, alright, and you let your throat chakra go, and you've tried every other method, it hasn't worked, there's influences going on, the business, demonic portal. The other thing about the business, there was a cascade of failures, 10 or 15 businesses. Over 20 years it all failed in that venue. It just destroyed and sucked the life out of a lot of people and stuff. So what I'm saying is a cascade of failures before and stuff like that in that space. Influencing the entity and empowering it and all this sort of stuff. I let it rip and I told her off. I got so potently angry. It was like Fire Dragon in full effect, alright? It was absolutely visceral from every level, alright? It shocked the fuck out of her, and all she could do is let me have it and kick me out and blah blah blah, and caused all this issue in the family. She would never have trusted me. It's like a bully, alright? You can do everything wrong. The moment someone does wrong to you, you know, you're the victim and stuff, but they could be doing wrong for a long time, and she was. The entity was fucking with me massively, hurting my legs and stuff like that. I did enormous amount of healing and stuff. But what I know, this is a key, alright? That visceral attack was a totally unexpected behavior on my patterns. Being backed in the corner energetically, being attacked constantly, very bad scenario. My only defense was attack, alright? And what that did, I know, it shook the fucking entity from her. And I'm talking an epilepsy demon. I'll try and link the page below and stuff like that. You can have a read. It's not a fucking entry level shit, alright? Loving it does not fucking work, alright? It will turn your love and fucking destroy you back, alright? So what I did, that unexpected behavior, shook the fucking multidimensional shit up, right? And that was the target, right? The 3D is like this. It's like an upside down igloo, iceberg. You just see the tips of what's going on. If you work at that level and you know what's going on, that cut the cords on her, alright? But this is the thing. Because I'd said over many years, it was so familiar, such a familiar thing, alright? You become used to the influence. It feels like your nature and stuff like that, alright? When you lose that reference, it feels foreign, alright? And so it becomes unfamiliar. You want that familiarity, alright? Because I took it away, I was the wrong, right? So she would hate me forever. I know in her energy field there was like suckers who would like be indents in her energy field where it was familiar. And what you normally need to do is you need to have healings and energy stuff and all that sort of stuff. She's not into that. Another part of her is she's actually quite intuitive. Her sister is as well. And when the entity was manipulating her, she was seriously good at messing with me, alright? That act destroyed our relationship, right? And I know I did an amazing thing for her. I cleared her of something that very few people could clear her of. But she sees me on the 3D as the enemy. It's like, how dare a brother-in-law treat her like this, alright? So she used that against me and all that. She would eventually just like take the niece and destroy my mum and my family and stuff like that, alright? What would happen is, remember I told you about the mess and the clutter and all that? She became very clean and all that sort of stuff, right? She hasn't had epilepsy in that time, right? Things like that. I know what I've done, right? This is like the multidimensional method to the 3D madness, right? And she just did some very bad stuff to my brother and had a lot of effect. And I can't control what she chooses to do. She never came to me and asked me why I did that. I'm not going to go and explain it and stuff. But yeah, potentially they were going to break up anyway and all that sort of stuff. But I know she's better off. You know, she's come through a lot of stuff and all that sort of stuff. Sometimes you got to do that shit. Right? Sometimes you're going to be called to do stuff that the rest of the world might think is purely evil, alright? But you're doing it from that higher level, alright? That's your target. It's not the 3D, it's the other levels, alright? The other thing is maybe you're the only one that knows. If you're going to seek external validation, You're going to see people that will do what you do, step in and help. Very rarely people do that. Right? What you might feel is that this is obvious, right? And no one else sees it. The thing is, that's your level of awareness compared to everyone else, right? What you find is you probably know more than most other people because of your intent and stuff like that. I know the people that sort of follow me and at their very high level, right? You have to accept yourself compared to everyone else. It's not an ego thing. It's like fuck, who else is there? There's no one else. It's like you are the last resort. Okay, so while that's had a massive effect on my family and stuff like that, I know I did the amazing thing for her. She won't even comprehend, and her life is a lot better. Alright, but yeah, it's I'm sharing a very private story, and you think sharing private things is bad. I'm offering the data of you to tune into me, because like I said, I've had all this stuff on the 3D trying to undermine and derail everything, and I've stayed true to what I feel is the right thing. And the Galactic Special Forces recordings, to me, are an amazing thing. If anyone else had done that, I would have created videos years and years ago. No one has ever asked me about this stuff or wanted to find out all this sort of thing, and that's fine. I feel it's a great teaching, right? And that's why I want to share it. Yeah, so I hope you get something from it. It's quite long, and I didn't mean to go so long and stuff like that, but I feel by you tuning into my energy and stuff like that, you will get something from it. If it shuts you down after 15-20 minutes, what you can do, you can go to search on Google for YouTube to MP3. Alright, you can convert anything on YouTube or whatever to an MP3 and download it as audio. You can probably sleep to it and see what you go off and dream and all that sort of stuff. Alright, but yeah, my purpose is to share with you experiences like this that possibly you're going through yourself and you don't understand, alright? And maybe it's because down the track you've got things to do that you aren't even aware of yet, because I dare say a lot of people are going to be called in to do a lot of energy stuff that they're not even aware of at the moment. So the key for me is to heal, alright? A lot of people in lockdown and in times of opportunity of using that slowed down time to develop, alright? So I'm just feeding that for whoever wants to listen to this and stuff. What I will do is offer many of my secrets and stuff like that I've come to understand. They've been vital components to me, and I haven't heard them shared anywhere else. So perhaps me being the unique variable that I am will help you to use your empathy. And this is the thing about empathy. You can tune into others' experiences. This is what I learned many years ago, right? You don't have to actually experience everything. You can use others' experiences to accelerate your awareness. If you can look at yourself a bit like, if you remember, if you watched the movie Dark Knight, which is a very interesting metaphor, where he did the right thing for the city. It was a selfless act, alright? If you remember in that, there's this technology that he develops using everyone's mobile phones to see like a sonar vision of 3D of the world, alright? What you can use is your empathy in the same way. You can invest yourself into others' lives if you can clear yourself, not in judgment. You can see all the angles of the way a person operates. Like I said, I was giving you that my sister-in-law was an orphan with epilepsy, didn't have a lot of support and stuff like that. You can tune into what it must be like for an orphan and stuff like that. It's very complicated, very tough. A lot of people come out a lot stronger in that, but They're just the data sets that you can apply to see the coordinates of an individual's life to tune into yourself. So what I'm suggesting is you use empathy to integrate data from other people's experiences that you don't need to actually experience yourself. That's where it gets to cellular memory and stuff like that, which is another talk and stuff like that. A lot of things happened related to that venue. There's a girl, Maggie, I'm probably going to want to talk about her story. Crazy snowing. So what I found with me as well over my life is perhaps I'm not being ready for the people that find me as well, but on the soul level they know that I can do some stuff. They don't know why they interact with me, but solutions often come and stuff like that. So there's many things, alright? Many things are probably going on around you. I'm offering myself as a teacher to explain stuff that I've learnt to get myself to Galactic Special Forces level work, alright? Because it's not an exclusive thing. I think there's a lot of other people that need to get to that level of their consciousness Tetris to be able to contribute at that level. It's not easy. You've got to be self-reliant, self-sufficient, trust yourself, know all the modalities that you need to employ to self-heal, have the trust and the courage to seek others, to have an external assistance when you need it and stuff like that. It's not giving your power away, it's having faith and trusting people and realizing that you don't know everything and stuff, right? So yeah, I hope you got something from this. I hope this makes sense. I've just chosen to go stream and see what I can offer. Maybe there'll be other things in the future that I can add to future recordings and stuff like that. But like I said, I'm trying to create the circuits of all those people that were seeking me for whatever I can help with them. Right. So this is just the next method of me attempting that. We'll see what happens. It's just starting to rain here, so it's a good time to close off and say g'day. Hope you're well. Stay strong. It's an endurance game. Take care of yourself. Do your healing. Infinite potential healing is available, and I'm very happy to help if you need. But enjoy. Take care, guys.